This is my second video of the day. It's still Monday, 23rd, 2022. And we're picking up right where we left off in the last video on when we compared the nature of God, the nature and origin of the cosmos and of conscious beings in Dharma, and compared that with the same principle in Orthodoxy to show how they were different. What I wanted to add at the very end to that last video was just to clarify that in Dharma, when we say that that God eternally causes the material cosmos and all conscious beings within it, he's not dividing himself. He's multiplying himself without dividing himself, which is the same idea that Christianity teaches within the Holy Trinity, when they say that the Father caused from all eternity the Son and the Holy Spirit. He is there multiplying himself without, at the same time, dividing himself. So what I wanted to do was do a more direct comparison of the Orthodox doctrine of God and the Dharmic understanding of God. In Dharma, they talk about God being nirguna and saguna. So, nirguna is God in his innermost being, in his ineffable essence, apart from attributes or qualities. It's that mysterious, inaccessible aspect of God that, we can't relate to. So, as creatures. So that is nirguna. And then saguna is God with qualities. Another word is Ishvara. When Dharmis refer to God as Ishvara, they're referring to God in his attributes or qualities, where we can experience him in a more personal way. Ishvara is another way of talking about the Trimurti. So the Trimurti, if we're thinking of it in terms of the primary forms, masculine forms that God takes, would be Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. If we're thinking of God more in terms of the goddess, then the Trimurti would be different. We would invoke three goddesses. The goddess is known overall as Shakti, but she takes different forms. Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Parvati, for example. So Orthodoxy and Dharma are very close in terms of having that distinction between God in his essence or innermost being, and God as he is experienced by us more personally in a actual form, with his qualities and attributes. So I guess you could almost see that as God's essence and his energies, his uncreated energies. Now, the difference is this. Dharma refers to those two things in two other terms. There's his innermost being, and then there is what we would call his prakriti, so his divine energy and his material energy. Prakriti is his material energy. This is why we don't have a doctrine of creation ex nihilo. The material cosmos and all of the beings in the cosmos have eternal existence. It seems like we don't have eternal existence, but we do. There has never been a time that the cosmos did not exist. There has never been a time that souls did not exist, that conscious beings and creatures did not exist. Different aspects of the universe, different planets, different worlds may come in and out of existence. They may dissolve and then return. New worlds take their place. But ultimately, the material creation is just as eternal as the essence of God is eternal. So this is Shakti. Shakti is Prakriti, God's material energy. She's the dynamic power of Shiva. And in this respect, Obviously that would be a difference from Orthodoxy. Sergei Bulgakov within the Russian Orthodox Church, Father Sergei Bulgakov, actually posited the principle of Sophia within God. And he said God, Sophia, is eternal. Sophia was with God from all eternity. And he argued that there are two levels to this. So there is Sophia when she's unmanifested, and then there's manifested Sophia. That's how the Dharmis would think of it. Bulgakov referred to it as the uncreated Sophia and the created Sophia, but it's the same idea. So you have God's uncreated wisdom, and then in the manifested realm of forms, those forms reflect the eternal uncreated Sophia. As above, so below. So it's a very hermetic idea and a very dharmic idea. So God multiplies himself without dividing himself. We have his divine nature, but we have not been invested with the infinite qualities of God, which is why we experience ignorance, and why we have to become united to him and become assimilated to him through mystical contemplation and meditation. Hopefully that gives you a basic understanding of how the two traditions differ. I'm going to be expanding on this in another video, probably the very next one, where we're going to talk a little bit more about the difference between Dharma and Orthodoxy in terms of both teleology and the theology of origins. Because, obviously we believe that the soul is eternal, the body is inherently mortal. Whereas Orthodoxy teaches that the soul is eternal, upheld by the uncreated energies of God, but the first men were created in a state between mortality and immortality in the garden. Their belief is that man was originally intended to attain immortality in the body. And so that's what creates this additional, how do I explain this? The fact that the body has to become eternal, has to be redeemed in Christianity means that that salvation requires this outer exoteric layer, which is where they get their forensic notion of salvation from, and then the mysticism follows it. It becomes a means, an unnecessary means, not totally necessary, but it becomes like a kind of a beneficial means to sanctification. And that's why I've been arguing that ultimately the mysticism is superfluous in Orthodoxy, even though many of their saints argued otherwise by saying that union with God is to be mystically in communion with him, which is why hesychasm took such a central position in the theology of the Orthodox Church. I'm going to get off now, and we'll discuss those things in the next one. So thanks again, and have a great day.